Hello, I'm Vince White. It's time to talk about fast food in New York City. It's delicious. But more importantly, we're talking, because I'm an employment lawyer, we're talking about a new law, a new employment law in New York City, where fast food restaurants, and this is very important, we're defining fast food restaurants as a fast dining restaurant with more than 30 locations nationwide. And they define it that way because, one, those companies are generally going to be pretty well to do, so one local law in New York City is probably not going to kill that company. Two, generally speaking, there's not a lot of sympathy for those companies, right? Fast food is viewed as kind of monolithic, it's viewed as ever present, but nobody, as delicious as the McDonald's Golden French fries may in fact be, nobody cares about McDonald's. No one's got the little violin. Oh, so poor McDonald's, which is a little short sighted because these are franchisees. These are small time business owners in some cases, and they're not as rich as corporate McDonald's, but you get the idea. This is why they do it. They pick these companies that are kind of like a safe lab to run their experiment on, right? Their economics experiment with these new employment laws. They did it with the old. You might remember New York City increased the minimum wage for fast food workers to $15, which was weird for a while because you had fast food workers in New York City earning more than like a experienced, highly trained EMT doing a dangerous, demanding job in upstate New York, and that created some weird situations and some weird tension. But it worked generally because they could run the experiment on fast food restaurants safely. Nobody minded, and the fast food restaurants survived. That's why they're doing that here as well. Now, what they're doing here, the new law, I think it was pushed by a council person, Brad Lander. I don't give political affiliation. He's out of Brooklyn. We don't want to play any partisan games here. I want to believe that Brad Lander had two really good goals in mind when he did this. I want to believe that he knew that 90% of the fast food workers in New York City are people of color, and 2/3 of the fast food workers in the city are women. And I want to believe that Brad Lander wanted to help those two populations because that would be really important for society. Also be really important for those people, but also really good for society. Even if you're a bad person and you only want good things for yourself, this is still a good idea. It's still a good idea to help those two populations because when you help people, society as a whole can benefit, right? I would think you might want to also be a good person and want to help people for the sake of helping people. But even if you don't, it's still a good idea, all right? Be as selfish and narcissistic as you want. This is still a good idea to help people. Okay. Now, what they're doing. Oh, the second reason why I think Brad wanted to put this law into effect is, at least I hope, was that it gives local mom and pop restaurants in New York City, which have been crushed by some of the more irrational laws out of Cuomo and our friend de Blasio, it gives them a fighting chance because now they don't have to comply with these laws. They can fire and forget these workers whenever they want, but a McDonald's can't. A Chipotle can't, right? To give two examples. So I hope those are two really good reasons why I put this law into effect. I suspect that's probably not the case. He probably put this law into effect because he doesn't care what happens to fast food restaurants and he thought it might be good for his political career. But that's fine. Any reason you might do something good, even if it's a selfish reason, is still something good, right? So, okay. All right, let's do it. So here's what we're doing. Now if you're a fast food restaurant, you need what's called a good reason to terminate an employee. What is a good reason? Not clearly defined yet. Is no show, no call a good reason? Probably, I would suspect so. Is punching your boss a good reason? Oh yeah, I would almost be certain, right? Is making half as many burgers as your coworkers a good reason? I don't know. Is it performance-based? You would hope so, but we don't really know yet. My other concern about Brad's Law is New York City's not really famous for enforcing these laws. They make them because they make splashy headlines. But, if you lose your job because you took too much sick time, even though New York City told you had sick time, and then you want to fight for your job back, New York City basically says, hey, employer, come and get this person's job back. Employer says, no. New York City goes, well, we tried. Right? Now, they've enforced it a couple times. You know, they're not above making an example of somebody. But generally speaking, they're not helping a lot of people with those laws. And I'm concerned here that in New York City, on the ropes, $12 billion at a minimum in the hole right now, I don't really see them rolling out an expensive arbitration program to protect fast food workers. On the contrary, every single week I have to make videos tracking all the layoffs for New York City municipal workers that are impending, right? They're now codifying these. They're actually documenting some of these layoffs in their budgets. These things are coming, right? The only way they're not coming is if the senatorial runoff in Georgia produces a majority for the Democrats in the Senate, right? That's the only way the feds are going to give New York City enough money to bail them out of this mess. So we're voting this law in. Mayor de Blasio is going to sign it in because he's whatever. Are you actually going to fund it? Are you actually going to do it? Or was it just for the look? To quote the Fresh Prince, right? I mean, although I guess he wasn't the Fresh Prince at that point in his career. But that being said, was it for the look? Just bite it, right? I don't know how real this is. When you're dealing with New York City, you never know how real these things are. Do I think it would be helpful? Yeah, for the good reasons I mentioned before. If you can help mom and pop restaurants and you can help women and people of color in the workforce, those are good things. Those are really, really good things. Do I believe that those things are going to be done? You know, historically, no. You can't trust them to do the good things. We'll watch it. We'll let you know. I'm just a little high hopes. Let's be optimistic. High hopes. Could be amazing. Let's hope. Stay safe, everybody.